Hi, everybody. We're going to get started here and make the most of our time together. Welcome to our Agentic DataOps webinar, where we're going to show you how to take your workflows from old school to Agentic. I'm Shifra. I'm the DevRel advocate here at Ascend, and presenting with me today are our founder and CEO, Sean, our product manager, Cody, and our friend and intelligent data engineer, Otto, the data pipeline goat. You can see him in the top right of the screen on a rocket. He's going to be with us every step of the way while we walk through this. So on the agenda for today, Sean's going to take us through Agentic DataOps 101. Cody's going to show us an Agentic DataOps demo, and we'll have time at the end for Q&A. So please feel free to drop your questions as we go, anything that comes up for you, and hopefully we'll have time to get to all of them. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Sean. Take it away.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Shifra. All right, so let's hop in a little bit into the 101. And I'm going to start with a little bit of just the basics here, just to make sure we're all kind of grounded on the same foundation. And then we're going to start to get into the far more advanced and fun stuff, which Cody's going to walk everybody through. But let's start with some of the basics really fast. Just a really short version, what is DataOps? We've probably heard a lot about it. Definitely you're interested in it if you signed up for this webinar. DataOps is a discipline that really applies a lot of DevOps principles. What DevOps did for software engineering, DataOps is really aimed at helping when we apply it to data. It involves everything from automation to testing, CI/CD, but really at the end of the day, when we think about what the ultimate principles are behind both DevOps and DataOps is it's about enabling teams to go faster, but safely. And that's one of the key elements I do think is really, really important to wrap our heads around is as data teams are expected to do more and move faster and feel the AI future of their business more often than not, we really do need to facilitate even greater productivity and greater efficiency for individuals. I did see a quick question, so I'll answer that so people don't have to worry about screenshotting. We can definitely make the slides available after the presentation, so you don't have to worry about screenshotting or anything like that, but you're welcome to, of course. So moving on a little bit from just what is DataOps, let's actually dive into why does DataOps matter so much? Every year we do this annual survey, and we've noticed a pretty alarming trend across data engineering teams as well as analytics engineering teams today. The vast majority of teams are at or over capacity. Only 5% of data teams report that they have bandwidth for new things, new projects, new efforts. And that's really quite concerning as we head first into an AI era where these data teams are being expected to deliver even more than they have before. And it's really important that we as an industry adopt stronger principles around how we build, how we deploy, how we maintain systems so that we're freeing up our best and brightest, our data engineers, our analytics engineers to do new, creative, impactful work as opposed to just constantly maintaining and troubleshooting. So we think it's really important for DataOps as a broader set of principles to be embraced really fast and across the industry. To put this into more sort of picture than sheer words, one of the questions I always like to ask teams is, where are you spending your time? Are you spending your time disentangling a complex mesh of architectures and systems and tools? Or are you spending your time proactively and constructively building new products, new systems that really fuel the next wave of innovation for your business? And this, I think, it becomes really important as great data ops principles will help you build faster, deploy more often, and actually spend less time supporting those systems and more time really propelling the product forward. Now, starting to turn our attention a little bit away from just classic data ops, which is amazing. And hopefully everybody here is either in the process of or has already embraced some of the standard data ops principles around that life cycle. One of the reasons where we think traditional data ops isn't enough, one, there's just too many tools, too many manual workflows, and a lot of tribal knowledge. As we engage with new customers and new businesses out in the industry, I can't tell you how often that when you drop in, how disproportionate large percentages of their team are spending their time on manual triage, manual workflows. It's terrifying to see how much knowledge truly is tribal, not even well documented. It's really kind of scary. The other thing that we see a lot of is most teams tend to have really low visibility into their system's health. Oftentimes something broke and you don't even know where. You don't know whether it was a code change, a system change. Did they just pressed over a new volume that you hadn't anticipated before, or did something else happen? That visibility is really hard to get from a lot of traditional systems. As a result, we tend to see a lot of very slow incident response times, as the triage and research alone tends to take huge portions of time. And then this puts a huge burden back on the engineering team, especially as you scale and you spend disproportionately large percentages of your time really focused on just triaging and the sort of maintenance side of operations. So this is where we think agentic data ops becomes really exciting and can really start to transform how we as data teams work. When we think about this lifecycle, I previewed it just a little bit before. The data ops lifecycle is really ripe for participation with AI and specifically with data engineering agents. Literally every single portion of this lifecycle, we can get AI contributions to make our lives easier as data teams. When we're on the left-hand side, we're able to see AI participate tremendously in our building experience. When we're on the right-hand side, AI can actually operate largely unsupervised with our direction to help offload a huge amount of the work that we ordinarily would have to do. Now, to give you a few examples of this, let's actually dive into how agentic data ops works and what these agents can actually do today. And the reason why I think that's really important is this, as we promised with the tee up for the webinar, this isn't some sort of futuristic pitch of, hey, in the next 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, maybe this is what agents can do. This is actually what agents can do today. And I think that's what makes this so exciting. When we think about the left-hand side, the development lifecycle that we do when we're building our data pipelines, agents can do everything that we've seen on the software side, from helping us co-build to look at our errors and our bugs and help us fix, as well as enhance a huge amount of the developer experience, whether it's from code completion, from agentic development and chat interfaces. We see a huge amount of value there. Where I think this gets even more exciting is when we start to have agents run less supervised, when they're not just interacting with us through chat or through a code completion. And we actually have those agents doing things in response to other system events. That's where we can start to see some really exciting behaviors that come out of these agents. And Cody's going to walk us through a few of those in a minute. But one of the things that I'd like to give folks as a framework for that I think is really helpful and powerful too is when we think about agentic data ops, there's really 3 key ingredients here. First one is triggers. When we think about agents that we work with today, if you're using Cursor, Windsurf, Copilot from VS Code, most of that often than not, the trigger is a chat message that you send it. But in reality, the triggers can be anything. They can be a pipeline error, a pipeline completion, an external event that happens, a time of day. Anything that can trigger an agent becomes really compelling and really powerful. The second thing that these data engineering agents really require is context. You'll see in the SM platform, we give access to everything from your Git history to data profiles, the entire performance and runtime history of all of your components from before. So the agents get everything that you would be able to get from a visual interface or from logs, but they have the access to get all that data as well, which is really important. And then third, and this is the last key ingredient that we see with data engineering agents is once you can trigger them on any event and you can give them a ton of context, they need the ability to take action. They need the ability to file an incident, or file a ticket, or cut a pull request, or go do research, or send you a message. And that ability to take actions has really been the last key piece that, when we think about completing that whole cycle, has really unlocked a huge amount of potential for these data ops and data engineering agents. Quickly, how we do that on the Ascend side, we're collecting all of the metadata across all of your data pipeline runs. We combine it all inside of your warehouse or your data lake so that you have ready access to it. We provide a number of different agents inside of the platform, as well as, and I think Cody will be demoing this. Hopefully I didn't just sign you up for something, Cody. But I think Cody will be showing custom agents as well. So not just our out-of-the-box agents, but you can even customize and create your own agents with your own directives and tools and instructions. And then we pair it with our automation engine. Our data-aware automation engine is the backbone of all of these events and triggers and information that lets the agents get triggered and act in response to all these other system events. And this thing combined is really what gives us those three pieces and those three key ingredients for these really powerful data ops agents. So last slide really quickly before I turn it over to Cody. I always like to give everybody the reminder too. There's no time like the present to get started with data or agentic data engineering. The growth rate of AI is incredibly powerful. We're seeing more than an 11x annual improvement in these general purpose models. We're seeing connectivity skyrocket with MCP services, so you can connect your agents to more and more things with the outside world. And I think that one of my favorite quotes from one of my friends who's the chief product officer over at OpenAI said, just as a reminder, the AI you're interacting with today is going to be the least sophisticated you'll ever experience going forward. These things are getting so much better so fast that there really is no time like the present to dive in and get started familiarizing yourself with these kinds of capabilities. Okay, and with that, let me turn it over to Cody, and he'll start giving us a little bit of a demo here.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. I will share my screen so that everyone can see the Ascend platform. So this is Ascend, and we are looking at the homepage here. Just to cover briefly, Ascend, first and foremost, is a great data ops platform. Even if you take AI out of the equation, which you certainly shouldn't do, you're able to have projects that are version controlled in repos, and segmented between that building experience that we saw in the data ops loop, which are these green workspaces here, versus the deployment and monitoring aspect, which are these blue deployments. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into one of these deployments, and we can see a lot of this observability data that we have. So this page is showing us the history of a bunch of different flows. Flows in Ascend are basically what we call data pipelines. And each of these data pipelines may have a number of components. So you see these have 19, and others have other numbers. So on this graph, I'm able to kind of scroll back and, go and see when we have problems and maybe identify that there's an error, and go and click through and see what that error is. And then as Sean was talking about, pretty much at every step along the way in the product, you have the ability to go and call Auto. In this case, ask Auto to explain this error. And we'll have Auto go through and give a response. This is going slower than normal, of course, because we are demoing. But Auto will come here back and basically tell us this is a very uninteresting error. That's just a error coming from Databricks. But the cool part is I can say, does this error occur often for this flow? And basically ask more contextual information, which Auto then is programmed to go and fetch custom rules about how to access the Ascend run history, and can go and call this tool. So Auto has gone and looked at the last 10 runs, and basically said here, this error is not common. Auto has not seen this error before in those last 10 runs. So I can say, what about the last 100? I, of course, know that we have seen this error before, simply not in the last 10. So it'll go and recall this, and this time it'll go look in the last 100, and basically say that it's not frequent, but has happened. So this is where you get this kind of auto side-by-side companion, but importantly, that has access to all of this context. So the flow run history that we were looking at for this deployment, as well as Git history. So we can always open the Git log here and basically see the history of this project and when updates have been made. And Auto has access to all of this information. Changing gears here, I want to go into our development deployment. So again, just to call out, we have 3 deployments here, development, staging, and production, and each of these are pointed at different branches in the GitHub repository. So I'm actually able to go through, and we'll see that toward the end, to kind of merge things and promote them through development into staging and production. So in our development deployment here, you can see a bunch of components that actually error, and we'll take a look at what those are. So I'm going to go ahead and explore the build. We'll hide this, and we'll go look at this auto incident test flow. You'll notice that this flow is always failing. We'll go and investigate why. I'll go ahead and submit a run here. Let me hit this with the refresh real quick, just to make sure we see that. Okay, now the run is pending. And that'll go and kick off. Let me click into this component. Apologies. Okay. Click into this component and open it up. So this is a generic Python task here in Ascend, and that's one of the other cool things is we have a bunch of different built-in materialization types for tables, but also generic Python or SQL tasks that you can go run. So this is a task. It doesn't actually use any of the context, any of the data that it has access to. All we're doing is basically printing out hello Ascend, and then raising an exception. And the reason why we're doing this, and again, you get the full history of everything here, including all the previous runs. The reason we are doing this is to trigger a failure of a flow, so that we can show auto basically reacting to this. So if we head back into the deployment here, let me just, I'm not sure why this one isn't actually starting. But essentially this will go through and trigger an automation. So as Sean talked about, we have a bunch of different built-in automations in the platform. If I go to the auto test incident one here, then we will be able to see all the triggers of this automation. So this is occurring when we get a flow run error on that component that I had just run. And this triggers an auto incident action. Let's head into a workspace and basically see how this is configured. But before we head out, I will go try to trigger this one more time just so we can hopefully see this happening live. Whoops. Let's head into the auto incident test Snowflake into here and just run this component and kick that off. So we'll see if that works so that I can show this live. Otherwise, let's continue on. So heading into a workspace, you'll see this is a very similar view to what we were looking in a deployment. So this is where I would actually come in to go and build out all of my data pipelines and also all of my integrations with Auto. This is where I can have, as Sean mentioned, these custom DataOps agents, which we have just released, including one for the Auto incident here. This is basically telling Auto, you have access to a couple of MCP servers, including one, let me zoom in slightly, including one for PagerDuty and one for Slack, as well as all of these standard built-in tools like the flow run listing that we saw earlier. So with that, you're then able to give these custom tools and also choose your model and give it a friendly name, and then go ahead and give some custom instructions. So I'm going to get a phone call. I know it's a little rude to answer these on a webinar, but we will.
Have you triggered an event on default service? Press
And
4 to add knowledge on.
hopefully you can hear that. So that is the phone call getting triggered by PagerDuty from this custom agent from the run that we did before we left the deployment there. So basically, Auto is taking the system message, going and calling the PagerDuty MCP, triggering the phone call that we just got, as well as an email and a text message, and also posting the details in Slack. I'm not going to open up my actual Slack for you, but just to show you a screenshot from a run of this happening earlier, this is basically what we get in Slack. And again, keep in mind, you can fully customize the actions that Auto is taking here and pull from all of that context. So here we're just giving a link to the incident, but we could also do some initial triage and see, like that question I asked earlier, has this error occurred before? Was it fixed before? Are there Git commits that talk about this type of thing in the history of this deployment? Those are the kind of things that you can then customize and give really arbitrary tools for Auto to be able to use to go and pull in all the context. So instead of just coming in blind to an incident, I can come to a nice Slack thread where Auto has filled out a bunch of pertinent details so that I can take it from there. And even if you give Auto, of course, a GitHub MCP, let's head back in here and just see how these MCPs are configured. So you can even give Auto context to a GitHub MCP server and then give it the ability to make PRs. And at this point, I should mention, in addressing security issues, the entire platform is set up, as I mentioned, so that users are working in these workspaces. And you'll notice, I think if I click here, you'll see that we're in the development environment. So you're able to strongly isolate, basically, your data resources and prevent Auto from taking, destructive actions in production or staging environments, which is what we would recommend. So Ascend basically sets you up with best practices out of the gate, both to go through a GitOps style workflow and also to give you a bunch of useful AI features that can help you debug your data pipelines as errors happen, even open incidents and gather all that context, and a bunch of other stuff. Okay, heading back through here a little more, and just again, kind of re-summarizing how this works. So we have all of our MCP servers defined in here, Slack, GitHub, which we're not using right now, and PagerDuty. We then have Auto, which we just have a lightweight configuration, giving it the 2 MCP servers. And then we also have these custom agents and also custom rules. The agent that we defined here, again, is going to be triggered by an automation, which I should go and take a look at. Is this one correct? Yes. Apologies. Another cool thing, I'll zoom out a touch. So we see how this is being triggered in one of these automations that Sean had mentioned earlier. So this is basically saying when a flow run succeeds, send a summary in Slack. This is actually not the PagerDuty one that I was looking for. Right, this is the PagerDuty one. So this one is saying when a flow run errors, send an incident, and this has the prompt that we saw before. So this is the automation that we run when that flow run fails that triggers Auto in a deployment to make those calls. So that's how that's configured. And then we can also see these rules and how they work. So you saw one earlier on Auto gathering the rule for listing flow run deployments. I will also just say, hey, Auto, and you'll see that it says hi to everyone watching the webinar. How does Auto know that the webinar is ongoing? Well, I just added, and we're running out of screen real estate here, so sorry, Auto will close you. But I just added a little note into this file, into my rules file that said, hey, we're giving in a webinar right now. Say hi to the audience. Again, because we have the Git commit history here, you can see that I added that 33 minutes ago. Click into here, explore the change, all the kind of normal things that you would be used to in a development environment. But this also is super, super powerful for teams of data engineers working together over time. Because as I noted earlier, your incident response and context and the specific tools that you use, note that we're using PagerDuty here. You might use Grafana or any other number of tools, or just use Slack itself. You can basically fully customize how Auto and your custom agents behave through these rules and then through these custom agents with even more precision. And what that means is that over time, as a data engineering team, you can build up your playbook. You can build up how you respond to things. You can even build up like specific coding style guidelines that might not be covered by linters or formatters. And basically ensure that in response to any given thing happening in the platform, that's the importance of these automations here, right? Is that they allow you to respond to arbitrary events and take arbitrary actions, which include running those deterministic tasks if you wanted to, or running an agent which has access to a variety of tools so that it can take action in your environment. What else? I know we're running out of time and do want to leave time for questions as well. But yeah, just to note it, Ascend basically works across a number of data platforms, including BigQuery, Snowflake, and Databricks, and even some of the newer DuckDB, DuckLake stuff in preview. I should mention as well, these custom agents are also in preview in the platform, but as Sean mentioned, something that we are extremely, extremely excited about and think will provide a ton of value going forward as these things are only going to get better and the number of mundane or tasks that data engineers are doing in Ascend can increasingly be done by Auto with these custom rules, with these custom agents. So that's a quick tour of the platform. And I also did just want to show, so you can see the list of PagerDuty incidents here being triggered by Auto. And I will hand it back over to Shifra to wrap us up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cody, for that amazing demo. It's super cool to see Auto connecting to PagerDuty for those real kind of use cases. We want to address the couple of questions here before we wrap up. So I think I want to combine a couple questions into one here and maybe give this to Sean. And of course, Cody, you can chime in. But I think people want to know how to generally address security issues with AI and specifically issues around secure authentication and cybersecurity.
Yeah, those are both, I think, really good questions. There's two, maybe three important layers of security that we apply. First, at just the foundational architectural layer, we default to and prefer to either use OIDC or secure vaults in AWS, Amazon, GCP, etc., to access any credentials you may need. So if you need to access a token to talk to your Slack MCP server, we always prefer that that's sitting in a vault secure somewhere, if at all possible. The second thing that we do is inside of the Ascend architecture, we actually break everything into hyper-secure individual environments. So when your agents are running, you can pick it if you want them to run in production versus staging versus development. And you actually have the ability to isolate each one of those environments separately with different permissions and different controls. You may be more liberal in your use of agents in your staging environment or your development environments, but not necessarily in your production environments. And that's the second piece. The third layer is for every single agent you have, whether it's the default Auto agent that you see from the chat interfaces, or it's your own custom agent that you can also chat with or have deployed as operations agents, you get full and complete control and customizability over what MCP servers they have access to and can talk to, as well as actually which individual tools they can use. So you can control all the way down to the fine-grained layer where you can tell them they don't actually get access to any data, or they can only talk to these specific Slack or Teams channels, or talk to these certain endpoints. So when we take those three layers, really secure authentication and authorization models, really secure environmental boundaries, and then 3 really strong controls as to what your agent itself even has access to. You combine those and it gives you a really strong set of controls to ensure that your agents are operating within the safe boundaries and deployed, doing the work you want them to do and not going rogue.
Yeah, I think that's a really solid approach here. And it brings us back to the connection with DataOps that, if DataOps is baked into every layer of your systems, how you operate, how your software development lifecycle looks, then putting agents in the middle of that is already going to have a lot of security built in if you're doing things right to begin with. So I think that's the big connection here between DataOps and agents. And I think we did have one more that came through that we can kind of end on here. And maybe we'll give this one to Cody. Someone wants to know, can Auto answer questions on data, or is it more focused on data ops?
Yeah, Auto can certainly answer general questions on data, and even like specific things that we think that people will use in the platform. For instance, IBIS is supported. So Auto can have extra rules on how to code with IBIS, or your specific SQL syntax if you're using Snowflake SQL versus PySpark SQL. So Auto is definitely a generalist and can answer your questions on data in general, on data code, or just even conceptual things if you're looking to learn more about best practices or things work in data. Certainly, we have a focus on data ops, but always there to help you.
Cool. Super helpful to know. And I think we want to end on a note looking toward the future. So as Sean kind of indicated today, and as we always talk about at Ascend, AI really is the worst it's ever going to get at this moment. It's only going to get better and more skilled and more autonomous from here. How should teams think about building agentic processes today that won't become obsolete as AI keeps getting better?
I think there's a couple of really key design principles we'd strongly encourage everybody to adhere to. One is it's really key to be able to collect all the metadata, as I highlight those 3 foundational elements. You need tremendous access to metadata. You need tremendous access to your runtime history. And so working with platforms that collect that level of data is absolutely key. The second thing I would highlight is much more of an emphasis on get started now. It's changing so fast. We've heard from so many people that they're going to wait and see how this AI shakes out. And the reality is, it's not going to shake out and be done changing anytime soon. The rate of change is accelerating. And you do yourself the greatest service by diving in now and just get started, really wrapping your head around what these things can do, knowing that they're going to change. But one of the most critical things you're doing is you're building up the skill set for yourself, for your teams, on how to work in this new agentic future, which is rapidly approaching.
Yeah, absolutely. The agentic future is approaching, and in a way, it's already here. And that's what this webinar and this platform and this initiative is all about. So I think with that, we're going to wrap up for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Really appreciate you spending your half hour with us today. And yeah, looking forward to the next one. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you all.